Shelby, what growth stage are we in?
So we're at R4 here.
Yep. You want to explain growth stages and how we show people that it's R4?
Yes, so if we were staging this bean, we want to look at the top first and work our way down. So we want to look for the most fully developed leaf and then work our way down. So always go 4 nodes down, 1, 2, 3, 4, lands me right there. And then when we get to that R4 stage, you know, we've got pretty significant pods on there. And, you know, that's kind of when we know we're starting to really set some seeds in there. You can see little seeds. And I think we can make one more application right now.
Yep. You know, we're into that 5th and final stage now where we're getting that maturity phase. So we've talked about foundation, combine to planter, establishment, getting it up and getting it going. Architecture, building that plant structure to be able to accept sunlight, build a fuel tank for nutrients and energy. And then reproduction, right, which is we're getting into the later side of our stages, reproduction stages in these soybeans. But now we're getting to that 5th and final stage of maturity as we're at the brink of, as we get in literally that R5, R6 time frame. And right now we have an opportunity to impact these beans. And the biggest opportunity that I think that we have on these soybeans is potassium. When you think about potassium, that is the biggest demand late season, both in corn and soybeans. It's even bigger than nitrogen, which most people don't understand. And what potassium will do to that plant, a late season application, is going to pull source to sink right out of that plant tissue, out of those leaves, and put it right into that pod. Potassium doesn't physically make any more beans, right? What it does is it takes these beans and physically makes them larger. And that's where we see yield and test weight, right? Our yield increases and really that test weight. In 2020, I watched a paper that was produced by Purdue University, one of the extension agents at Purdue University, and they talked about giving up on crops too early. And it intrigued me because usually universities don't really challenge the status quo too much, but this one did. It was Dr. Sean Castile put this one out. And Sean talked about giving up on plants, and they said there's still money to be made and yield to be made on a late season application. So I tried something new, and that paper came out in 19. And what I did is I moved my fungicide application to R2. And I contend that we are a little bit too late coming out at R3 in general, because what we're trying to do is split hairs to make that fungicide last late enough in season that it carries us. But a lot of times we have disease before we ever see it, right? You know, when we get sick as humans, we start getting that feeling like, uh-oh, something's not right. I'm starting to get sick. And plants do the same thing. We just visually can't see it. So I moved my fungicide insecticide application up to an R2. I put some foliar potassium, specifically potassium acetate.
Okay.
So we have that KSB product, XR5 KSB, which is a 4020, predominantly potassium acetate. Also has 5% sulfur and 0.5% boron in it, which are 2 really essential nutrients needed late season. And I put 2 quarts on there. I came back at R4.5 and R5, so basically right now. And I hit them again, and I did 500 acres this way. And to the line, we had 61 and 62 pound test weight. Guys, I am mid-40s. I have never in my career, up until that point, had never seen 60 plus pound test weight on soybeans. It is rare. And it's 100% because we drove potassium into that plant. And we get paid by weight, right? We haul pounds to the elevator. We don't get paid by volume. So I don't want light bushels. We want heavy bushels, because that's where we get paid. And that's where the money's at. So this is a perfect growth stage. So if you paid attention to how she growth staged this, those top 4 nodes, and you got that full pod set, that's an R4, that's a perfect time. R4 into R5 is perfect time. And I want to stress the potassium acetate to the farmers that are watching this. Potassium acetate is 4.5 times more efficient from a foliar aspect on nutrient absorption and utilization inside of a plant. Texas A&M did a study several years ago that proved this, and it's bar none of the other forms of foliar potassium. They're all good products, but potassium acetate stands out. So that's a great opportunity to hit this one more time.